Hey, folks, welcome to the Beans and Dice podcast, a podcast about
How we game.
I'm Carlos.
I'm Rob.
And I'm between two Robs, Will.
Our special guest, Rob Hunter, joined us today on location at Your Turn, a board game cafe in Zephyrhills, Florida. Today, we're just going to talk a quick topic on our play of Stonemeyer's game, Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig.
You're listening to the Beans and Dice podcast, a podcast about how we game.
Ludwig.
It's
Ludwig.
Ludwig.
I'm sorry, English is not my first language.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's designed by Ben Rose and Matthew O'Malley. It's a drafting game of tiles that you lay on a board in order to build castles, and you're going to connect different rooms in your castles to score in different ways. What's interesting about this game, which I don't want to lead on to what I felt about it, but what I really loved about this game is you're not building just one castle. You're building two castles, which is why it's called Between Two Castles. Between each player will be a castle, and me, for example, Carlos the player, will be playing to build a castle between original Rob, and I.
Original.
And then
Original, Rob Light.
And then William and Rob will be building a castle between them. Well, Rob's score at the end of the game is going to be based on the lowest scoring castle that's between him and I, or William and Rob. So he has to find a way to encourage both William and I to help him build both good scoring castles. Because if he focuses all his energy on working with Will to build a beautiful castle, it could be the highest scoring castle we ever saw. But if I score 40 points, that's the most Rob's going to get.
Right.
That I think that's the most interesting piece of this game setup.
Yep. The game is a smash-up of two prior games that came out both roughly a year to 2 years before, Between Two Cities, and then
Bezier games. That's right.
Bezier games, yep. And then the Castles of Mad King Ludwig, which we had played a couple of years ago at Dice Tower Con in Orlando. And I know you weren't a huge fan of that game.
Not at all.
You didn't like the closed economy system because in that game you bid on rooms to add to your castle. In this you're drafting them, but in the prior game you bid on them, and there was a closed economy. So whatever you bid, that money went to your opponent,
right,
which made your opponent better for the next round of the game. But they took that out of this, and this is just a straight drafting. You get tiles. It's 9 tiles at the beginning of each round. You're going to take a look at them. You're going to draft 1 tile for the castle to your right. You're going to draft 1 for the castle to your left, and then you're going to pass the 7 remaining tiles either to your left in round 1 or to your right in round 2, and then you're going to keep doing that, drafting 2, revealing them, adding them to the castles, and then passing the remainder along until you're down to just 1 tile. At the end of that round, you discard that last tile, and then you start a second round of the game where you go the opposite direction. So everything's to the left in round 1. You do everything to the right in round 2, and once you've gone through 2 stacks of 9, you will then do a final scoring of the game.
Which comes a lot faster than you expect.
Oh, yeah. It moves along pretty good. So the advertised playtime is
45 to
60 minutes. So yeah, I'd say even our learning game probably wasn't more than 60 minutes. So,
no.
Yeah. It moved
That's
along
about
pretty
right.
good.
I think scoring was the longest.
Yeah.
I do agree scoring is probably the longest.
Involved math.
Well, not only that, for me, I think the first game, the trouble was the symbology. Right? So understanding what room is what.
Yeah.
And then what royal attendant goes with each room, like what specialty goes to that room, and then how they score. So the scoring really was slow, trying to figure out how things scored.
How they connected.
Yep. Well, that's the
How
placement piece.
they related to each other.
During the game, just trying to, it's a little brain burny as you play, trying to figure out the best tile to pick to maximize what's going to work in that castle. And then the trick of the game, again, is since you're scoring ultimately the lower scoring of the 2 castles, the trick of the game is you really don't want to invest too heavily in one of your castles, because if you get that castle going too well, then you're just going to write off that score and it's never going to count because you scored only the lower of the one to your left and the one to your right. So you're really kind of working with your partner on each side to move them along just enough and keep them even enough that they're moving up together, so you don't end up with a big disparity between the castle on your left and the castle on your right. So,
and although there were a lot of moments where I felt things were slowing down for learning, because it's a semi-co-op, so it's that cooperative competitive, I felt like Rob Hunter and I could talk about best strategies or what does that mean. So it felt like you always had someone on your side.
Yeah.
In most games, for example, if you watch our Friday Night Fights video, William will never show me a card which he does not understand.
Yeah.
Because as his opponent, he doesn't want to let on to this is the card I have, although I don't know what it does or how it works. I don't want to ask a question because I'm afraid I'm a tip off what I'm trying to do strategy-wise. But because you've got a partner on your left and a partner on your right, you're not afraid to ask, hey, well, if I put a room like this here, how does that score or would it score? So that felt nice to know that you've got someone you can go to.
Bounce it
You're
off.
going to share the score at the end, so
Yeah, so it's best to work
best
together.
just to work together.
Right. On both sides, because if you favor one person or the other, you're just hurting yourself at the end of the day.
I'll say in the game, I felt most of the choices were fair. Well, not choices were obvious. Once I had selected a tile and flipped it and said I was going to put it in this castle.
After the draft?
After the draft, yeah.
And then after you selected which castle to put that draft in.
Right. At that point, usually about 90% of the time, there was a pretty clear place it should go.
But it should be that way because by
Right.
the time you're drafting it, you're looking at, when you get your 9 tiles to draft, you're looking at your castle on your left, castle on your right, and you're looking at those 9 and you're saying to yourself, which tiles would go best in each of these castles? Then you narrow that down to 2. Right? So you already know where you're going to put it
Right.
by the time you get to that point.
Or you
But
may-
then your
you just-
teammate can pop in and give you some idea of how to do it better.
You may even have 2 or 3 different places, but once your teammate plays the other tile,
That's what I was
once he
gonna-
reveals what he's got,
Yeah, that's what I was going to
Yeah,
say.
you
that's
open up
changed things.
you can
Yeah.
open up another placement for it.
There were a couple times I had drafted a tile, and I'm like, that's going to go right there. And then my teammate on that side flipped their tile, and they're like, oh, actually, theirs works better in the spot that I wanted to put it. So maybe I let them go there, and then I'll find a new spot for mine. So, yeah, that happened a few times, yeah.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
Well, by the third tile, anyway, there's a strategy already revolved on the castle.
Yeah.
That's what I found out. Every third tile was like, okay, I know where it's
Right.
going.
This is going to be a utility room castle, right? I'm gonna focus my
Focus on
utility
utility
rooms on
rooms.
this side, or this castle's I'm gonna focus on playing the sleeping room game, the bedroom game, because I'm gonna focus on getting all the colors so that they can all score 4 points and get as many of those as possible. You do kind of set a strategy for each of them.
Yep.
Some of the things that I enjoyed about playing this game, and I know Nick Oben was with us today playing. He had to head out early, but he and I talked about this. I'm an ADD type guy, and my brain, I'm a magpie. I'm all over the place. This game kept my attention the entire time, and it did that because I felt like I was playing 2 completely separate games at the same time with the same set of rules.
Right.
So it's like playing 2 chess matches at the same time. So I'm pinging off of this one, and then, all right, I'm good here. Then I'm pinging over here off of this one, right? And then everybody's doing their thing over there because it's all simultaneous. And then I'm working on this one with Dan because Dan Erdzik jumped in with us too, and he was on my left side. So then we're both done placing our tiles, and now I'm looking at this side again to say, all right, on the next draft, how am I going to... So it really felt nonstop.
It wasn't too bad. I say both of the games we played with 5 people, and I had a couple of times where once we flipped the tiles, 2 people to my right and the 2 people to my left immediately got together to look at their castles, and I kind of had to just sit and wait for 3-4 minutes until these people got done talking or those people got done talking so that somebody could turn to me. So playing with an odd number, I think, has that little bit. There's always going to be one person who's left kind of out for a few minutes.
Were you alone, Robert?
I was a couple times.
Did you feel alone?
So, yeah, a little bit. So
He's lonely.
Yeah.
But there wasn't a lot of downtime
No.
in between. There were some times where someone may talk about it a bit more than the other ones, like, boom, we're done, and we're waiting on you. But there wasn't that long
Right.
of downtime.
And
It
I
wasn't
kind
like-
of I became that person for a while there. Like I did step back and I allowed the 2 in pairs on my side to do their thing.
Yep.
I think I do that naturally as the host of the game.
Yeah.
Right? It's my game. I'm bringing it to the table. Naturally as the host, I felt that way. But outside of that, you're right. The downtime was low, except for that piece. 'Cause that did feel a little awkward.
And that was just playing with an odd number. I mean, it plays, 3 to 7 players. So I feel any odd count, the 3, the 5, and the 7, you get a little bit of that. But even in that case, like I say, it's just a couple of minutes. Usually, like I say, some of those choices are fairly obvious anyway. So there were a couple times that even when I was waiting, either the team to my left or the team to my right would place their tiles pretty quick, and then they'd come back to me to then look at my castles on each side. So it wasn't ever a lot of downtime. So.
But it happened to me once, and I was working with Dan, but then I had to wait for Rob to finish up on his side, And by the time Rob came back to me, I completely forgot why I chose the tile I chose.
That could happen. Yeah.
And I'm looking at it like, what are you doing here? What is this tile for? Where am I putting this room?
Yeah.
It took a minute.
That's right. I just placed it for you.
there
Right.
you go.
I'm like, hey, I picked this tile. Can you help me out with it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where you can kind of work as a team to kind of place that stuff. So that works. Yeah.
I think the hardest part of the game was figuring out how we played the first time, and it was just kind of a free flow of fun. After that, I felt like I was getting real analytical with it because I was looking at every tile and its scoring opportunity. Like I wanted to make sure that whatever tile I drafted could score for me and at the same time allow something else to score.
Yeah.
That's hard to find that perfect balance, that momentum.
Well, I think that the game definitely could suffer from analysis paralysis, but it is light enough where even Nick Oben, who in our group tends to suffer from analysis paralysis, he was actually fairly quick. I mean, he's a smart guy, and the game was simple enough that he was able to see those connections pretty quickly, and so he didn't overthink it. And I don't know that it lends too much to overthinking. I mean, it is light enough, I think, that if you're on it and you're
Right.
with it, you can, in that symbology, once you pick up on the symbology, you can move along pretty quick. So
Especially as you get later into the round. There's only 2 rounds in the game. In the first pick, you're picking from 9 tiles. But by the time your second time around, you're down to 7, then you're down to 5, right?
Yep.
It's so easy to pick when you have 5 and then, 3 tiles to choose. So it makes it quick that way. Any final thoughts on
Got 3. One's
what
going to this guy. One's going to this guy.
Right, and then you're just
Pretty
tossing
quick.
the last one. Any final thoughts on the game itself of things that we talked about that we liked that we didn't bring up? Rob, William?
I mean, it's got really good replayability because it's always, you're never going to go through every single stack.
Right, and there's always an extra couple of stacks outside of it that won't be seen in that game.
there's some bonus tiles, and there's some bonus cards that you can draw that allow you some variability. The throne rooms being different. I think there's 7 different throne room tokens that you can use, give you kind of a starting strategy. And so by just playing a different throne room each time, that's going to change the game up a little bit because it's going to give you a start to the game of where you might want to place your first couple of tiles.
Right.
And then that'll kind of set you
It starts every castle different.
Right, yep. So it sends you in a little bit different direction.
Since you got to move around between games,
Right.
you're going to have a
between every
different
game, you
castle.
gotta
If you leave the
reorganize.
castle there, it's going to be a different one when you move.
Yeah, so that part's neat. And I really did like, you mentioned it already, but you do feel like you're playing 2 games almost simultaneously. It's almost like the chess player who's playing a chess game to his left with somebody and then turns around and is playing one, and then kind of going back and forth between the 2 games. We see that sometimes in those chess experts that do that back and forth. They're playing 2 or 3 games at once. This really kind of feels like that because even though you're playing the same game, by having a castle to your left and a castle to your right and a different partner on your left and a different partner on your right and having to negotiate and work with each one of them, it's kind of, like you mentioned, it kind of feels like you're constantly going, I'm negotiating over here, I'm negotiating over here, and back and forth and back and forth.
And balancing and trying to make sure.
Yeah.
Because at a certain point, I'm seeing that maybe on this side I'm a little weak. So I start kind of, shafting my player to my left. I'm not going to pick the best tile because I really can't let this castle get too good.
You did that, huh? Yeah.
I mean, you have to.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Even with the 2 games, they can have, like you said, different strategies. So one's going to be food castle, the other one's you're going to try and get the rooms. So now you have to think, this one's going this way, this one's going this way. And so now which tiles do you want to use? Not just the most points, but
Yeah.
this tile is better off over
I mean,
here.
Right.
it's a fun game, but a lot of people are not going to want to play it because it's literally playing 2 games at once. Some people can't handle that.
Yeah.
I think my goal next is going to be to try the Between Two Cities, which from what I understand, this is the gamer's game. This is like the level up, step
More
up.
midweight, yeah.
I'm really excited about Between Two Cities
Yeah.
for my family and for newer gamers
Let's be lighter, yeah.
because it doesn't have all that Mad King Ludwig room thing going. Mm-hmm. You're building 2 cities between each other, so I'm excited about that. I can't not say this. The fact that the game trays are in there.
Oh, yeah.
Is
Game trays are
legit.
nice. Yeah,
Those
the
game trays
inserts
are
are
awesome.
really nice. They make it really easy to find stuff.
And
They
set up.
They
I
push
mean,
out.
right now
yeah.
we shuffled them up after we finished the game, and we put the game trays together. So then now, at the end of the game, for the next game, it's ready to go.
all
We
set
are
up.
ready to go.
Yep, just pop it out of the box, and you're almost instantly ready to go.
Yep.
Yep.
Anything that could be done better or that you disliked? Well,
Go around the table, or
anybody got anything?
You had mentioned having the extra tiles. It'll only tell you that you have extra ones.
Yeah, the rule book doesn't match the image of these trays are not the same trays in the rule book, and it doesn't quite explain it. So that was lacking.
And as Will brought up earlier, the biggest detraction for me of the game is the scoring at the end. The scoring is a little bit complicated. It's a little bit of a bear. And in a 45-minute game, I think probably 10-plus minutes of that at the end is scoring. And so for a game that's as light and quick as it is, well, I would say light to mid-weight, but as quickly as it moves, it seems like when we hit that scoring phase at the end, we all spent 10 minutes with a pencil and some of us with a calculator, totaling up those final scores. And so I don't know that there's any way to overcome that in this game. I mean, it is what it is. It's just part of the game. But that was, I really enjoyed the game. The scoring part, not so much. But
I will bounce off of you on that one.
Yeah.
In the sense that I enjoyed the scoring because it let me celebrate all those moments where I felt like I put that tile in the perfect place.
I could see that.
And then when you write down that number, I did that one.
You get that long connection.
Right. Like, look at that connection I created. Man. So that was great.
Point,
But yeah,
point.
the scoring is as brain burning, I think, as the game because you're having to find all those connections and I didn't miss that one. I got that one over there. And so, but the score pad does help you with breaking it out. It breaks it out per tile type, per room type, and kind of walks you down the list. So the scoring pad
Not horrible.
helps.
It's not horrible.
Yeah, it's not horrible. Yeah,
But it could be better.
horrible.
yeah,
An app.
yeah. An app would be nice.
An
yeah.
app would be nice.
I mean, I don't know what the app would do though.
Add the math, which is I'm not good at arithmetic.
Well, if you get real complicated, you just take a picture of your castle and let the app score it for you. That's getting high tech.
Yeah, that'd be a little bit too much.
Yeah.
All right,
it's out
folks.
there. But,
Well, I had a blast playing it. Dan had a blast playing it. That's our buddy Dan, the shop owner here at Your Turn.
He won't play anymore.
He's
Board
1-0,
Cafe.
so he's done. He's
winning
retired.
one, and that's it. Done.
That's what he does. He plays a game, he wins it,
100%.
and then he's done.
Yep.
Champion for life.
Don't forget. There's something you guys didn't read though. This is also 2-player variant.
There is a 2-player variant.
Is there?
now.
Okay.
So people might
Yeah.
be thrown off by saying, "Oh, it's 3-7."
Got it,
No,
three,
there's a
yeah.
2-player
It
variant.
says
in
3 to
this.
7 on the box, but there is a variant, huh?
There's-
Okay.
Yeah,
Rule book, yeah.
I'm assuming that if it's a 2-player variant, it's probably 2 castles. Each one you got 2 castles.
There's
Well, no, there's one
Wow.
castle between you, but then there's like an automa over there.
Oh, okay.
Like a
third.
like
a
an
third.
like
player.
an NPC.
Yeah, like an
Ludwig
NPC
is his
castle.
name. He's got
Oh,
a
yeah.
name. Ludwig.
Is it Ludwig?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he's mad.
Oh,
So
I thank you guys for playing it with me.
it was fun.
This copy was actually given to me by Stonemeyer Games, so I got to throw that out there. Jimmy Stegmeyer, thank you for sending this out our way.
absolutely.
We appreciate it. All right, folks, we are the Beans and Dice Podcast. I'm Carlos.
I'm Rob.
I'm William.
I'm Robert also.
Robert also. Thanks, Rob, for joining us today.
Rob.
We appreciate you guys watching. Please like and subscribe. You have no idea how much that means to us. We'll catch you on the next one. Be safe, everybody.
Keep gaming.
Good night.
Night.
See ya.
Thanks for watching the Beans and Dice podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe.